This is John with the latest on the NFL AFC playoff race going into the final week of the season, and we still got more drama than a Quentin Tarantino film. Going through the divisions and teams, starting with the AFC East as usual. Dolphins and Bills will duke it out for the division. TeamRankings.com preseason projections were a bit off for this division, with the Dolphins being very good and the Jets being very bad. But thanks to them for letting me share their stuff all year. Dolphins have clinched a playoff spot and will take the division with a win over the Bills or if they end up tied. And as I mentioned in the NFC program, I really don't like including the possibility of tie games in these discussions, as they really make things confusing for something with such low odds of happening. So what I'm going to do here, same as I did over there, I ran the calculations both ways. I will include tie games possibility in the discussion if it doesn't completely obliterate the orderly procession of a team's scenarios. Otherwise, I will just say there are some other paths that involve tie games if it would get too messy to list out. Bills, with their win over the Patriots, inched closer to the playoff spot, but aren't quite there yet. They could win the division, they could take a wild card spot, or they could be left out in the cold. They will take the AFC East with a win over the Dolphins. If they don't pull off a win, they would still go to the playoffs if either the Steelers or Jaguars not winning, or a tie between the Texans and Colts, or tying with the Dolphins themselves. The Ravens snuffed out any chance at drama for the AFC North crown with a 6-game win streak. The Browns are probably pretty happy, however, with clinching a playoff spot. Meanwhile, we lost the Bengals from the playoff race. Ravens have the division, and it'll be interesting whether they put the kid gloves on for their game against the Steelers. The Cleveland Browns are going to the playoffs. They will prep for it with a game against the Bengals. The Steelers at 9-7 have a coin flip, basically. They lose out on tiebreakers against the Texans, Jaguars, and Colts, so this is where things could get complicated. The easiest way for the Steelers to go to the playoffs is to get a win and have either the Bills lose or the Jaguars to not win. After that, they could get in with a Jaguars loss and a Broncos win, and for the Colts-Texans game to not end up as a tie. The Broncos win would be needed in this scenario to reintroduce the Broncos, even though the Broncos are eliminated, to have them tied at 9-8 with the Steelers and Jaguars, for Pittsburgh to win the three-way tie that they would lose just head-to-head against the Jaguars. I believe it would be strength of victory. They could also get in with a win and the Texans-Colts ending up as a tie, or being a tie themselves with a Jaguars loss, and this time the Texans-Colts not ending up as a tie. This is a pretty good example of one side of the argument about not really discussing tie games as a possibility until they actually happen, because that was far more confusing than it needed to be. The AFC South teams remain joined at the hip, all winning last week, all at 9-7. All have a chance to win the division. All have a chance to get a wild card spot as well. The team rankings preseason projections were spot on for the Jaguars, but missed on the others. Jaguars are 50-50 chances to win the division with some paths to take a wild card. They get the Titans this week. And they could make it easy by just winning. That would give them the AFC South. If all the AFC South games end up in a tie, that would work as well. Otherwise, to get in as a wild card, they would need a Steelers and Broncos loss. The Broncos loss would do the opposite for them than what a Broncos win would do for the Steelers. It would keep the Broncos out of a tie between the Jaguars and Steelers, and the Jaguars would win that one heads up. There are also several more confusing scenarios involving tie games that muck up the works too much to talk about here. The Colts beat the Raiders to give themselves a chance and to reclaim control over their own destiny. They can win the AFC South with a win over the Texans and a Jaguars loss or tie, or to tie the Texans and have the Jaguars lose. They just need a win to secure a playoff spot, or if they somehow end up in a tie game, then a Steelers loss or tie would let them in. Texans kept pace with a win over the Titans. They also control their own destiny. They win the AFC South with a win and a Jaguars loss or tie. And like the Colts, they clinch a playoff spot with just a win, while they could sneak in with a tie and a Steelers loss or tie and a Jaguars loss. The Chiefs finally took the AFC West crown while both the Broncos and Raiders were eliminated from playoff contention in Week 17. As I mentioned, the Broncos could still factor in the Steelers and Jaguars playoff hopes. Team rankings got most of a win for their preseason projections on this one, missing only on the Justin Herbert-less Chargers. The Chiefs will warm up for the playoffs with a game against the Chargers. I did a live stream of these tables on Sunday, keeping them updated during the games with the latest info. I may do that again this coming Sunday, partly dependent on the NFL scheduling of the Week 18 games and whether the drama will be spread out to keep track of or not. Otherwise, that's it for now. My site is playoffcomputer.appspot.com. Comments, questions, suggestions, support, likes, subscribes, pizza are all welcomed. Enjoy your day.